What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Spectrum Podcast. We're a podcast that collects people with different political beliefs on the political spectrum and gets them together and talk about recent news, politics, etc. Today, we will be covering the last stretch, the home stretch of the election, which is taking place just 2 days from now, Tuesday, November 8th, which is going to be a very exciting day, I believe. So we're just going to cover the recent polls that have been coming out, maybe talk a little more about the Hillary thing and how it affected her position in this election, and we'll talk a little bit about which states that we think are really in play right now. So introductions. I'm Paul, the token libertarian.
I'm Frank, the token Republican. Evan McMullen, 2016.
I'm Charlie the Patriot, America 2016.
And Danny, our liberal, could not make it. He is
hungover or sleeping.
Yeah, one of the two. Probably both, actually. So if this seems like a right,
the body can only endure so much leftism.
If this seems like a right-wing podcast, at this point, it probably is. All right.
I'll try to hold the line.
All right, so let's start very simply with what we predicted last week. Anyway, Danny said that events like the Hillary thing would only have changed the polls like 1 or 2%. I think the three of us, and I'm sure he would agree with this, although I'm sure he would have a comment like, oh, no, these polls say this and this poll says this. But it seems like it went further than the initial 2%. What do you guys say about that? Danny's not here to defend himself, so Danny, if you're watching later, sorry.
Frank, go ahead.
Damn it! All right, but well, it has went up. It put, I think, New Hampshire in play, as we were just discussing about just recently, and it's tightening the race. So far, Clinton is up by only, according to Real Clear Politics, which is a great site to follow, she is up by 1.7. And I think I remember Dan saying that this looked like this had the looks of a landslide election, which I don't think it is anymore. Because as you can see, like the Senate races are close, and I think that is due to the FBI releasal. Because now you have Rubio up, Kelly Ayotte close, Burr close, and Ron Johnson has narrowed the gap with Feingold. So this is really really narrowed the battle for the Senate and the general election. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. As in most things, Dan is wrong. And,
shit! Shots fired.
Shots fired.
You know, Dan,
it's funny because it's
probably
true.
Gonna get out in the middle of this, probably.
Well, that'll be fun. Anyway, yeah, this has been a great boon for us. North Carolina's in play, Virginia's in play, Nevada's in play, New Hampshire's in play, Ohio is cemented. Actually, I'd argue Florida's cemented more than in play. So, yeah, people are angry. That this is the trouble with reducing politics to numbers. Politics, ultimately, is about will. And so when the will of the people...
Power.
Exactly, good. Yes, the will to power. When the will of the people is, well, conjured up, it is unstoppable. And formulas can't overcome it. I'm sorry.
I mean, unless the polls are like really that way. But
I'm not even joking.
I know. But so yeah, I mean, it's like the two of you were saying, with along with the Senate races and even the polls in Trump's direction right now. So like the states that are in play, I believe you mentioned them. We have in Ohio, we have Trump up by 3. He's always been up in Ohio.
I would say
for a very long time. Pennsylvania's in play. Clinton's only up by 2.4.
I forgot to mention that. Thank you.
The states that are in play are even Michigan. He's only up by 4.
Wisconsin, in Michigan.
Virginia is only up by 5.
Wasn't in play.
Arizona, which was kind of...
Yeah. Trump is up in Ohio by 3.3. Clinton's up by Florida by barely 1%. Colorado, Clinton's up by 3. Nevada, Trump's up by 2.
There was a recent Colorado.
Even Nate Silver has Florida leading Trump.
Apparently, Nate Silver has been under attack. I don't know if you guys saw the articles by the Huffington Post.
Well, I mean,
the what? I'm sorry.
it's the left attacking him. That's why.
The left has been attacking Nate Silver. The Huffington Post released an article damning his model.
Well, Nate Silver, I mean, look, the man's clearly kind of a lefty, but he tries to be honest, and I can respect that. Actually, I love an honest leftist. Like, there was a college student, I think, it would have been yesterday your time, I'm not sure. I'm over in the land of the rising sun.
I'm sorry.
You know what? It's great here. They have a culture and their national unity. It's wonderful.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. It's like they actually have a country. It's weird. But yeah, there's this guy. It was at a Hillary event at what was it? Iowa State University, and this was the president of like the Students for Bernie club, and he was supposed to kind of she wasn't there, but basically he was giving a speech at a little kind of pep rally for her, and his name was Caleb Van Fossen.
Was that the Bernie
And he went
guy?
up there. Yeah, he's a Bernie guy, and he went up there and he said, "Yeah, we have to tackle student debt, and Trump's not doing that, but neither is Hillary. I mean, we can't trust her." Because she works for the banks, she works for the military-industrial complex. She doesn't actually care about us, and he got hauled off the stage. I love an honest leftist because, again, this election, I have said this before, it's about nationalism versus globalism, but it's also about honesty. It's about, will you back, will you back this a little vulgar but honest guy, or will you back this compulsive liar?
Honest.
This compulsive liar who actively wants to destroy your country. Those are our options.
Actively wants to destroy your country.
I would look even beyond the honest and the vulgar. It's more of a battle which people don't realize between nationalism / isolationism versus globalism, which the average voter doesn't really look at, which is interesting in the grand scheme of things.
It doesn't really get
isolationism.
It never gets described that way. That's why.
Partially,
it is like Trump lampooned as an isolationist, but like there's a difference between isolationist and not invading everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
That's been my position for the longest time, and people like Frank still don't get it, right, Frank?
Paul, do you say something?
Yeah. See, he just ignores it. Okay, but anyway, he solidified his position in Iowa firmly. A recent poll, he's up. Let's see.
I want to bet that he's going to win Iowa.
Iowa's locked down. We have Iowa.
Yeah, I mean,
even Florida.
Listen,
we have Florida, I think.
The way the election is right now, if he wins those four states, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Nevada, and he wins New Hampshire along with every other state he's currently ahead in, it's a 269, and that's the coolest thing to ever happen in modern history. In my opinion, that'd be the best election ever. I would
it'd be interesting,
love
right?
that. And
see, my concern is, I think it was it 1820, when basically John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay, John C. Calhoun, all kind of colluded to keep Jackson out. Yeah, to keep Jackson
Quincy
out
as president. Yeah.
I have to read more about that, but I heard about
there's a musical called Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, which is Andrew Jackson is a punk rocker, and they have a pretty good song about the corrupt bargain. It explains it pretty well.
I mean, Charlie, if it's anything like the 1820 election, Trump will lose in the House of Representatives to a scoundrel, and then in 1824 rise to greatness. So maybe we should.
The difference is John Quincy Adams was not importing voters by the boatload.
That's okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right, so see, I did not really have too much to talk about with the election, but because it's let's talk about the scenario. If so, McMullen, for instance, he still has a
Pardon me whilst I vomit.
He still has a solid chance of taking Utah, correct?
Yes. Therefore,
I think the recent
hurting Trump.
Yeah, I mean by a landslide. The recent polls have him at like 30, Trump at like 32, 33, Hillary maybe like 27, something like that.
I feel like Dan. 538 has Trump winning Utah, but it is likely that McMullen will snag something.
He's at 28% in Utah. So, I mean, Donald Trump's winning it currently. God.
I really don't understand this deliberate drive to force Hillary Clinton on us. I don't get it, but it's possible at this point.
Well, I mean, what Trump has to do, Utah, in the scheme of things, doesn't necessarily matter because he has
In a race this close, it matters.
Yes, it does.
no, it doesn't matter for this reason. It's because he has to take states that she is strong in. Because even if McMullen wins Utah, it's like, well, if Hillary Clinton's above the 270 mark, she's above the 270 mark. But if it's 269, 264 because McMullen took Utah, it's going to go to the House of Representatives anyway. You know what I mean? So
I would not be surprised at all if if like the so-called Republicans within the House of Representatives forced either McMullen or Clinton on us. It would not surprise me one bit.
I would disagree. I think they would choose Trump, but it would be I mean, they probably would try, but it would mostly go to Trump. But
I think it probably would go to Trump, and I would not be surprised if they pulled something dirty.
Well, I'm a big McMullen supporter because of he's a principled candidate. But I doubt he's going to win the. He's beating Clinton actually in Utah, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But
and the way the House of Representatives work is that you have to win 26 states. Everyone in the House and the individual states vote, and the majority vote goes to the candidate, and you have to win 26 states. Correct?
Yeah.
So
I believe so. Yes.
Even if McMullen was to win like 1 or 2 states, and Hillary was to win like 24, and Trump won 24, they would do another vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that they would always be forced to
it'd be
another
like
vote.
It'd be like those British party leader elections where you have like endless ballots.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it's like. Okay, so
You see, Paul, you know that because the British House of Cards is actually better.
I heard it is. I have to watch that one.
I don't watch the House of Cards.
It's interesting. The American one's gone downhill. The British one's worth a watch.
Is that on Netflix?
It was when I watched it, but that was about 8 years ago.
I'll find it somehow.
Well, early voting is not looking good for Donald. Clinton is up by 9 points nationwide.
Yeah, let's talk about early voting and why that's the case. Do you guys have any opinions on that? Do you think people are just that unified against Trump in like those areas for early voting, or is it all the Latinos going out to early vote?
I think it's the full credit where credit is due. The Democrats are very smart and they're very capable at politics. They're not so good at governing, but they're very good at politics. And they understand the importance of that get out the vote drive. They understand the machinery of democracy. So they've been very effective at that. But again, I think the passion of the Trump voters can overcome that. I think the numbers are there for Trump. I think our people are more motivated. I think you're going to see significant downturns in Democratic turnout on Election Day. That's already happening. Even in early voting, I think it was in Virginia, North Carolina, demographics that are favorable to the Democrats, their turnout's lower than it was, significantly lower. Even by the early voting before. So you're right, it is disturbing, but I think in the end, we're going to be okay. The will of the people will overcome this.
Yeah, and I want to talk about one interesting thing that I was watching Dave Rubin this week, and he had a guest on from Learn Liberty. I believe
Dave's
it's
all
Learn
right.
Liberty. Yeah, Dave Rubin's good. I just want to grab his name real quick just so I can give him the proper credit. Steve Davies, he's a guy from Britain. He was talking a little bit about Brexit and about Trump. He was kind of making the argument that how the recent polls in Brexit, for instance, they had the Leave side losing and the Stay side winning by maybe like 2 percentage points, right? And he basically said this, that where polls are involved, when it comes to like establishment votes, if the polls are that close, typically the establishment usually wins, except they underestimated, and this is why I believe Trump is going to win the election personally. They don't account for the people who are first-time voters because those people aren't polled because they're not expected to vote. So the pollsters do not call them. And that's what I believe Trump's going to bring out, a lot of first-time voters. And So a lot of it looks like Hillary ahead 1 or 2 percentage points, but those 1 or 2 percentage points could very easily be tightened rather, with these first-time voters. And this has been an argument stated throughout the campaign, and I'm sure Danny would have a comment, but if he was here.
I would question as what constitutes a new voter, because most new voters are usually, I would consider, millennials or young people who are Democratic.
No, I think we're talking about people who just have not voted.
Oh, voted. Okay, yeah, I understand that, but it depends on how numerous they are. And while Trump has like
if you're living in Putnam County, Florida, right? What motivation do you have to vote for a Mitt Romney or a George Bush or a John McCain? There's just no motivation there. They're not going to do anything for you. They talk about like vague economic principles that don't really help you. They send you off to die in foreign wars. So I mean,
I think trickle-down economics helps the poor, but I think that's another argument for another day.
It might in the abstract, but it doesn't to them. It's not real. Like you might say, okay, yes, this will help you in 10 years. They'll say, okay, great. I lost my house.
But the wall will help you, is what you're trying to say, is that wall.
Actually, yes, the wall will help them.
The wall will help.
The wall. Yes, because you built the wall, you start deporting illegal immigrants, and what do you know? The labor shortage the labor surplus isn't as severe. They have more prospects for employment, and their wages go up. So, yes, the wall helps them.
It will help them and hurt others, okay.
Not to mention they could actually get a job, probably help building the damn thing.
Short term, yes.
And we go from there.
Well, Trump does have the hardcore following. Clinton has the better ground game of getting out the vote. He has no structured system of getting the vote out, which is what I think is going to be tipped to Hillary, personally. So I'm just curious to see how that's going to work out.
Trump's ground game is called passion, right, Charlie?
Actually, yes. It's passion and will. Willpower, and the will to power. Look, sorry to go all Nietzsche there, but Frank, did I hear you say before it'll help some people but hurt others?
The wall? Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll hurt. It'll hurt foreign nationals for whom our government has no responsibility. I mean, do you agree that a government's first responsibility is to its own people?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
But I believe
Trump 2016.
I believe in a more in and out immigration, not a closed off one. So I think that's where me and Donald disagree.
Oh, Trump doesn't want to close off immigration. He just wants to limit it. I mean, there's a difference between opening the floodgates and letting no water through at all.
And I believe we had this argument before, and you're going to say that because of the labor surplus, they should be removed, and immigration should be limited for the reason that you just stated before, so that the guy in Florida can go up and get a job.
Yes, Paul, thank you. I actually just read an article today in that sainted publication, National Review.
Hey!
I don't know why I still read it, but
read the Daily Wire instead.
Oh boy. It was called The Next Republican Agenda by Matthew Continetti.
I heard of him.
I'm sorry?
I heard of that guy, yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about, his article was saying that the greatest speech, like the most important speech that's been delivered in this whole election, was delivered by a guy named Edward Conard to a group of rich donors in Utah, because that's where important things happen. Rich Mormons in Utah. And he said that oh, here it is. Unfortunately, I underlined that, we have to dial down low-skilled immigration. We have to recognize that there is more unemployment among the lesser-skilled workers than among the most skilled workers. And it's like, for a second there, you said something sane. Some sanity slipped through, but you had to have a prelude with unfortunately. It's like, unfortunately, we have to protect our people. Unfortunately, we have to safeguard the national interest. But I love his solution. His solution was, we'll have a compromise. And instead of having mass immigration of unskilled workers, we'll have mass immigration of skilled workers.
Oh, that's gonna do good for these college-educated guys.
Yeah, it's like, oh great, yeah,
Totally support that.
let's just devalue our college education even more. Thank you.
But by taking in more skilled laborers, we're actually bettering the country. But that's just my input.
This is important. This is important. Like, let's talk about that. How is that bettering the country? Because you're bringing in more people. Who it's the same problem with low skill workers. Fewer jobs to go around, and then real wages get driven down. Eventually, yes, you'll have economic expansion in what's the word I'm looking for? In the abstract. But it's not concrete, and the growth is negligible compared to the people you're just outing from their jobs.
I think it's going to, in the STEM and sciences fields, those immigrants may create jobs, may create industries, startups that can provide jobs for American workers. So that's why I don't, I'm all for skilled laborers coming in and staying.
Well, that's the theory, sure, and I don't get me wrong. Yeah, we should make some effort to basically poach the best and the brightest. Like, look, if we can get Chinese nuclear physicists to defect, great.
Hey.
But with that number, you're not looking at more than a few hundred. So I don't understand why we would, again, actively seek to supplant our people, because in the abstract, you're right. Yes, they might start businesses, they might do startups. But are they? I haven't seen a great deal of evidence that these wonderful people we're bringing in are creating jobs.
According to the Fiscal Policy Institute, small businesses owned by immigrants employ an estimated 4.7 million people, and they generate 776 billion annually. So that's what I would assume actively pursue.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So I mean, if we actively pursued them.
That's our current levels.
Yes.
So if we increase that levels, can we really be sure that there won't be a law of diminishing returns effect?
I mean, there already is a law of diminishing returns effect in this nation with a college education. By taking those who are more skilled, it would just create jobs for those who are lesser skilled.
Okay, but what about the people who are skilled who cannot now get jobs? They can't do a startup because they have no capital. And they can't get any capital because they have no job.
I'm playing devil's advocate. He just made the point that with unskilled workers, there's already a labor surplus. Although we'd have to. Oh, right. That's the assumption that they're out, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the assumption that they're out.
But there's also.
You have to walk in the beginning for this conversation to make sense.
We're only focusing on the negatives of taking in skilled laborers. That's why saying skilled laborers. It's a total show.
There are positives, but the negatives outweigh the positives.
I don't think that's all abstract, is by saying that we're taking skilled laborers.
Really? Are people going increasingly on welfare is the abstract? Are working class families collapsing because they can't find steady work is in the abstract?
We are getting
but not because of skilled immigrants are coming in. There's different
shift to skilled workers.
Guys, I promise
will shift.
I promise we'll have an immigration conversation very soon, very shortly.
But this is why we should not vote for Trump.
Everything's about immigration at its core, really.
No.
Well, we'll do that one week for sure. Okay. There's one thing I want to discuss. Did you guys hear? This might not be too important in the scheme of things, but I think it could potentially hurt Hillary with early voting, and that's at least in Arizona anyway. Have you guys heard about the Supreme Court's decision to support the Arizona ban on ballot collecting?
No, I did not.
I have not. Please enlighten me, Paul.
Do you know about ballot collecting?
I'll be honest and say no.
All right. Well, in Arizona, for a little while, they had a system where that you can have basically other people go around, basically as a job, as you would. And a guy that I'm friends with in Arizona actually does this for Hillary Clinton, and he went to D.C. with Charlie and I. I won't say his name, but I think you know who he is. Big Hillary guy.
Alejandro.
Did you just say his name? Was that his name?
That was it's
not.
That was a Lady Gaga reference, Frank.
Right, but anyway, they go around, and as a job, they collect early voting ballots, and basically what happened is that Arizona, I believe they passed a law to ban that practice. Then the appellate court overruled it, and then the Supreme Court said no. You have to ban collecting early voting ballots. So I thought this was a very interesting law, and it happened. The Supreme Court only ruled on this maybe like a week ago, or actually like 2 days ago, maybe, right? Yeah, 2 days ago, this ruling happened. So that's going to affect early voting heavily for Hillary Clinton. So what do you guys think about that law in particular? I know it's very specific, very nitpicky, but what do you think?
Well, you see, Paul, it's actually all about immigration.
I'm gone. Give me out.
Let's see. So I want to make sure I understand the law. So the law is that people cannot collect early voting ballots because that can lead to corruption.
Well, I imagine that would be what the ruling is about. I mean,
sure.
That just makes the most sense to me.
I mean, look, I'm for anything that increases voting security. That's why I favor voting ID laws.
Hey.
Yeah, it's like, and that's somehow racist because I don't know, only white people can get IDs. Somehow?
It is racist, Charlie. Racist to liberty.
You need a license or an ID for a gun and alcohol. All right, that's how much.
But not voting. Not voting. That's fine. Well, because Frank, otherwise, how could all the illegal immigrants vote Democrat? I mean, come on.
I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you want to, if you had voter ID, you can help ID people with guns and stuff. But screw logic.
I favor a national ID card.
Yeah.
How about we have a state ID card? Oh, wait, we do.
That'd be fine.
New York City has their own city ID, Paul. I don't know if you heard about that.
I have heard about that. They've done that for a little while.
But you can't buy alcohol with it, so it's useless. Anyway.
Wait, Frank, what was that about voter IDs and guns?
I said if the Democrats' argument is if you want to track down people who are unidentified with guns, this would help them out by having voter ID nationwide. And
that's the argument against national ID cards because they could be used for other purposes. So,
I like a national ID card, but you don't need it. Like you can just say, look, present some form of valid identification when you vote.
Yeah.
A driver's license, a health insurance card.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then the argument that the Democrats give out is that
they can show their passport.
That you have to pay for them, or there's no way to reach them, like the location, I don't know, like who gives it out, DMV, or
show them your selective service card.
Like, yeah, I mean, but
everyone's supposed to have that. At least every male, and pretty soon every female.
Is supposed to. So.
Well, that's fine. If they can't get a draft card, why are they voting?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Don't suppress the vote. I'm just reading the law myself.
Or if we had a national service law, you get an ID for that.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else we can talk about with the election.
We can talk about scenarios, like what would happen if I don't believe Trump's going to win, but I believe.
Well, you're wrong.
That is correct, Paul.
And we'll talk about that on Tuesday with Danny. And Charlie will be celebrating at his job 14 hours ahead.
I am in the future. I know who's going to win, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
I truly believe nothing's going to happen because the House is going to stay the same.
Trump isn't going to concede. He's going to say, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at the results and study it, and then he's going to start his news thing or whatever, and make millions.
I just never concede the race. That would be amazing.
It's like I still believe I won the race 4 years later.
Yes, 20 years later.
Yes, 20 years later.
The Civil War happens. Charlie comes to America. It's a lot of fun.
Well, the Civil War is only occurring if it goes to the House of Representatives and McMullen wins.
What would you do if Stein got it? I'm just like, that's a hypothetical. That's funny.
You know what?
It's a big hypothetical. It's a big hypothetical.
I'd be okay with that. Jill Stein is this crazy old communist who cannot help tell the truth, and I find it utterly charming. I follow her on Twitter. It's great.
I should follow her on Twitter.
She's so charming.
She is charming. She's like, oh, Hillary Clinton's horrible. Save the planet.
Did you guys see the video recently with Gary Johnson? And this woman was trying to make the argument that smoking marijuana increases your chances of having a heart attack. And Gary Johnson during this conversation pretends to have a heart attack, just falls on the floor holding his chest.
No.
People like, God damn, Gary Johnson does not give a fuck anymore.
I honestly, Gary, it's like, look, he's not even that libertarian, but I do kind of like the guy. He just so is past caring.
Holy shit. Trump is winning.
He probably shouldn't be, though, because I actually really want the libertarians to get that 5%, because then they can be a real party, you know?
Yeah, right.
According to 538, Trump should win Florida, North Carolina, Nevada, Ohio, and Iowa.
Have they updated?
Yeah, I don't know. This is recent.
And New Hampshire,
New Hampshire, they're not.
Oh, they have. Yeah, you're right. They updated an hour ago.
Yeah.
Let's actually look at this. What are his chances now? Like really good.
About 35. 35.
Yeah, they're at 35. But Florida, he has a chance of winning at 52. Iowa 72, well 73, and Ohio 67. That's fantastic.
Frank,
and,
do you hear the people sing?
Do you hear the people
singing the songs of angry men?
If I did, I would go see a psychiatrist. Nevada.
It is the music of a people who will not have Evan McMullen as our president.
No.
Ever.
I wish Danny was here, because that's where the real divisiveness on the election actually starts, you know?
What, polls?
Yeah, baby.
Well, according to this poll...
Well, this is Dan's fault. He got us into Nate Silver. Now, Nate Silver is showing Trump doing pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Very good. Woo! Trump has 0.3% in New York. Yeah.
Yo, he can still do it. You know?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think at this point, it's like New York and California. Just evacuate the Republicans and like take them to purple states. Just resettle them.
I don't know if you know where we're from, but we live in Staten Island. We call it the Mason-Dixon line of New York State.
Oh no, I know about Staten Island. Paul told me about it. But like, look, how would you guys like to live in Pennsylvania?
We went 80-something% Trump in the primaries, right, Frank?
Yeah,
I mean, I voted for Cruz and Frank voted for Kasich. But,
you voted for Cruz?
Yeah, I voted for Cruz. I mean, he was the best out of the three options.
I voted for Cruz too.
I know you did.
Yeah, I went on MSNBC for Cruz.
I know. I remember it was. I think. Do I still have that saved?
I want to say
Ted Cruz has it saved. It's on his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember watching that now. All the Trump supporters were like angry at you.
Oh, it was amazing.
If only they saw you now.
Well, look, when the God Emperor gives me a position in the government, they will.
Yeah.
Just make sure I have a fair trial when that happens.
Frank, unlike Evan McMullen, Trump loves the people, and he's not just going to put them on show trials.
Frank, do you see yourself as an intellectual?
Yes.
Then you're damned.
No.
Right, Charlie?
I mean, that's between you and the God you don't believe in.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm looking at the Trump's paths. Like, there's on NBC has different options for the Trump path to victory.
I have saw that. It was posted like yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, like 23 hours ago. He needs to win New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and Florida, Ohio. Yeah, basically all the ones. But it also doesn't have him having North Carolina in this one.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of different scenarios that could happen. However, I think he's going to win North Carolina. He's going to win. He's going to win Ohio, and he's going to win Nevada. So look at anything without Florida, because that's his least chance. Is there anything without Florida? I believe he has to win Pennsylvania.
Well, there's one without Pennsylvania. This is called the option without scaling the blue wall. So this is probably his best option. This has him winning New Hampshire, Ohio, Iowa. Actually, he's not winning Nevada, but Florida, and I think he's going to win Florida. If he doesn't, I'll be very surprised.
I mean, he is currently down. I'm just saying, if we want to rely on polls, which I'll be an advocate for Danny right now. If he loses Florida, is this election over? Does this have any scenario?
He has to pick up somewhere else. He would have to pick up Pennsylvania or Michigan if he loses Florida.
Well, he'd have to.
The thing is,
you have to pick up more than that.
States like Michigan, states like Wisconsin,
Florida has
these
29
states-
electoral votes.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania
These
only has
states-
20. Doesn't help.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The point is, states that were not in play before are in play now. So
Just
even
like
if
Trump
Trump
predicted.
loses Florida, which I don't think he will, I think Trump will win Florida.
Yeah, I think so
But-
too.
Even if he doesn't, if he doesn't win it, that hurts. That hurts big. But there are paths. They're just not as likely.
Yeah, he would have to win Pennsylvania, Nevada, Michigan, make up for Florida. But Florida, according to Nate Silver, should go to Trump because it's at 52%. This was just updated an hour ago. But
Looking good.
For America.
for America.
I don't know about that.
Omnia pro patria, Paul.
Oh boy. Oh my god.
What was the event yesterday where Trump was rushed off the podium? I wasn't paying attention, but
Yeah. Mind if I take this, Paul?
Yeah, go ahead. You sent me the video.
Yeah. Basically, he was giving a speech in Reno, and so there was kind of like a tussle near the stage, and someone yelled "gun," and so the Secret Service ran out there and hustled him off. And they all ran to the crowd and hauled this guy off. But they let him go. It turns out that he did not have a weapon. He had a Republicans Against Trump sign. Maybe you know him, Frank.
yeah. We went to high school together. His name is John. We went to high school together. Good guy.
Oh boy. They used to whisper sweet nothings to each other while reading National Review.
His name's John Hancock.
And the Weekly Standard.
And but yeah, basically we were honestly afraid this was an assassination attempt, but it was
That's
not.
what I thought it was when I looked at it.
Our fears were overblown, so it was just kind of an idiot. It's like, oh, I'm going to go onto stage with this sign. Like, what are you thinking?
There is one thing I want to say about this, and I've seen a lot of people make this argument.
A martyr.
I've seen a lot of people make this argument, and I'm not going to talk about that it was staged because I'm sure. I don't think it was staged. Trump's face as he was getting pulled off, like he did not give a fuck. He's just like
yeah.
He's getting pulled off. You see like Secret Service guys like
Milo did a meme on that when he had Trump's face. He goes, "This is the face of a man in a conflict. Vote for Trump 2016." And,
I think that's now.
You like Milo, Frank?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him.
I
It was good for you after all.
I think that event actually helped Trump. What do you guys think?
Very big school. I mean,
I don't think it's going to change the polls either way. But that is my biggest argument against it being staged or whatever, because presidential candidates don't like to be hauled off by the Secret Service. It doesn't look good. And honestly, even if it had been an assassination attempt, the media would not have talked about it. Like the last assassination attempt, when the illegal immigrant tried to grab a cop's gun to shoot Trump, and
I remember that.
nobody talked about it.
I never even heard of that.
Talked about it. Exactly.
I mean, I saw it on the news, so it was talked about. It was months ago.
I don't remember it receiving any attention because I would have remembered something.
It didn't.
That's fair.
It was mentioned and received no more attention. Like we have the left actively trying to murder Trump, but somehow it's the Trump supporters who are the real danger to democracy.
What was that one with the black church that was firebombed? And I think it was found out to
Democratic.
It was Democratic supporters or something like that.
I'm not sure if they found out. I'm not sure if they found out who did it, but that's the theory.
It's a theory.
It's a little on the nose to firebomb a black church and vote Trump.
Trump, it's like
these are the dumbest terrorists ever. If these are right wing militia terrorists, they are the worst right wing militia terrorists ever because they're actively hurting their cause.
I don't think there is a good right wing militia group in USA.
But it's also stupid on the left's part because a lot of people are gonna just see the vote Trump thing and be like, no one's that stupid, and then they go look at the left and be like, no one's that stupid to stage it to just say vote Trump. So I don't know who it was. Either way, whichever side did it, it's retarded. They're stupid. They should have just wrote down and I was watching an amazing atheist video. He's a big liberal guy, but he said he's like, I don't really it could be either or. I don't really care. He says that they really wanted to make it look like it was a Trump person. They should have said "Make America Great Again" or something like that. Not
They should
Trump.
also,
So blatant.
well, first, I think we could all agree that firebombing churches or firebombing anything is generally a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like just talking, sheer Machiavellian political maneuvering here. They should have just spray painted nothing. Just firebomb the church, and then let the media spin the rest. Because that's what they would do. They'd say, oh my God, this is just evidence of the horrible hatred and division that Donald Lucifer Trump is causing in the country.
Apparently, there's been cases of voting fraud, and apparently there's one in California.
There is no voting fraud unless it's Putin.
No. Oh no! Yeah, have you guys been reading the? Oh, speaking of the FBI, there's been a host of attacks by the left-wing media groups attacking the FBI, saying that because they are mostly white, it's 67%, they are therefore Trump supporters. This is why that there. So the Politico had an article about that, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
The left is astoundingly racist. It's like, oh, if you are white, you are a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
If you are black, you cannot get an ID, and you're a Democrat supporter.
By the way, this is the church or whatever that was whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was
subtle.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I think.
Yeah,
just as a news story.
Well, it's a classic from my personal point of view. It's a classic Democrat dirty trick. Like it's so on the nose. It happens just when Trump's surging. It happens just before the election. And they literally paint his name on the scene. Like, I think this was a leftist setup, but that's just me.
All right, that is a fair assumption. I will wait for evidence. I'm not too sure, but I don't know if we'll ever get that evidence.
I doubt it.
Ooh,
no one's gonna get caught for this. I doubt it.
But no, but there's cases of voter fraud, which is interesting to me. Clinton just no, not Clinton. The governor of Virginia, what's his name? I'm trying to think of his name. He just he allowed
Sarah Palin.
No. Recently, he just he allowed 60,000 people with felons to vote. Oh,
Harry McAuliffe,
yeah. So that's going to tip it more to Clinton. It's very interesting what's going on, the parting of people with felons and immigration.
Well, I agree that most Democrats are criminals at heart, but I feel
like Dan is hungover somewhere, like just waking up, feeling his sixth sense going. Like, oh my God.
Dan is not here, so I'm having all the fun that I can.
I know. Dan would just so everyone who's first time watchers, if Danny was here, the liberal, he would be citing, no, you're wrong about this, and this is why. Here's the statistic. Here's the poll. Like he's always there. He always knows how to counter an argument.
Dan's a very sharp guy.
I'm here. Yeah, he's very sharp, but he's drunk right now.
He has his surrogate in Frank. It's fine.
That's checkmate, Frank.
Listen, I mean, logic and rationale sometimes against Trump goes hand in hand.
You might as well vote Clinton, Frank.
No. I
you actually might as well.
I have principles. That's what makes me different from Democrats.
Well,
and what is a higher principle than the nation?
Having a principle is what separates intellectuals from the intellectuals from everyone else. If you're firm on your principles, then you'll be fine in Charlie's proposed world. Correct? If I understand you correctly, Charlie.
Well, that's already abstract.
My proposed world. Paul, I just sent you a thing about Spangler's worldview. I don't propose this.
Yes. Okay. Okay. In that world, then, okay. In Spangler's world.
Well, I mean, look, is
Frank going to get killed?
More than
Why
likely.
would Frank's? No one's going to get killed. Like there are all these assumptions that Trump is some kind of fascist, and he's just not. Like
I watched the video.
Fascist light.
He's nowhere near a fascist. Like
you're in Japan right now, Charlie. Their economy is fascist in a way, but people don't talk about that. Yeah, people don't. People with fascist has a bad connotation, which is It deserves.
No, you're actually right. You're
Yeah.
completely right. Like, economically, everyone's fascist.
In a way, yes.
Because I think it was like Mussolini said. He said that fascism is the merging of state and corporate power.
Fascismo.
Mhm. Yeah.
Fascismo, to use Paul's mother tongue, and like that. That,
Hey, my grandparents lived under Mussolini.
yeah. So I mean, like
My great-grandfather
that wasn't an
fought for him.
insult. That was
Let me kill
so.
some
Like, if you
Americans.
look at if you look at our economy, if you look at every major economy, that's what it is. It is a government industrial complex.
Yes. But back to the elections. Bernie Sanders has said if you're voting third party, you're hurting the Democrats. He
Sanders, the biggest traitor in history of the progressive movement.
He actually kind of is. Like you cannot say, look, I'm a socialist, I'm against corporatism, and then endorse a corporatist.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking.
It's like, look, at least the National Review, the Daily Wire, the McMullen crowd,
Hey,
at least they're saying we are against, I don't know, nationalism, so we will not vote for a nationalist. That's a consistent principle. That's fair, even if
True.
I think it's wrong. But Sanders has just lost all credibility.
oh yeah.
Yeah, if he should be advocating for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson or even Donald Trump in some cases.
Or he should not be saying anything. Like if he was just stayed silent, I think he would have preserved his
legacy.
reputation.
You don't want to hear his soothing, dulcet tones?
I mean, there's a reason why Ron Paul has a Liberty Report and Bernie Sanders will not in 4 years. Well, not a Liberty Report, but have like a YouTube station. Because Ron Paul stayed virtuous and on principle and did not endorse either McCain nor Romney because they're both establishment shills.
Hey,
I like Ron Paul. If I could go back in time, I'd vote for him in 2012.
Yeah, the good times.
I would still vote for Romney. But back to the election.
I know you would.
Why?
That's an excellent question, Paul.
I don't know. We'll go to foreign policy.
I didn't know any better. I had like a crush on Mitt Romney basically because like back in 08. But back in 08, 08 was the first election I ever followed. Now I was a Romney kid because I didn't know any better and I was stupid. And so when 2012 came around, I was more politically developed. I was like, oh well, I liked this guy before. I feel loyalty to this guy, so I'll support this guy. I was wrong.
Hopefully in 2020 he'll come back to the light, Charlie. And
if by light you mean like the dull, gray, amoebic purgatory that is National Review conservatism.
I would say like the Weekly Standard, but we go. You can come back.
That's
the Daily Wire.
I do like National Review more than Bill Kristol.
Oh, I love Bill Kristol, but
the man was like weeping on air about Trump. It's like, oh my God, Donald Trump, he's Mussolini, totally, yo.
Oh, I hope he didn't say that. I really hope he didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that. But he actually, I think he was on MSNBC.
I really hope he didn't say that.
He did not say that. That was an exaggeration. But like he was on MSNBC talking about the election, and he's like, desperately trying to say that Trump's going to lose, and he did tear up. He has like this visceral hatred for Trump that I understand disagreeing with Trump, but it's like
I feel like the only person who can hate Trump is Ted Cruz, but
Ted Cruz bent the knee. I'm waiting for the rest of you all, but
you mean he sold out? But
sold out to what? The country?
To Donald Trump and his view of the country, but
I mean, if Donald Trump wins the election, Ted Cruz endorsing him won't look so bad, will it? He'll have a good shot in 2024.
If Trump wins, big if.
When Trump wins.
Yeah, he's going to have to rebuild a relationship with the GOP to go forward, if anything.
Actually, that brings up something interesting.
He should declare his own party. That's what he should do.
The GOP, unless the Trump faction somehow takes over the GOP, that party is dead.
No, I doubt that.
The Grand Old Party becomes the Grand New Party, the GNP.
The Alex Jones Party.
Like honestly, like I'll be real with you guys. After this election, I'm leaving the GOP. I'm changing my registration to independent. I know a lot of people who are doing the same thing. It's because they're not in modern political history has a party so actively worked to sabotage their own candidate. It is unprecedented.
I wouldn't say sabotage.
I would say sabotage.
I would just say
the only reason why he won it is because he won every state, and he won badly, very bad. See, he won so big league.
He won big league.
Big league.
I know. I said big league too. He won big league in those states. That's the only reason why they couldn't rig it against him.
Yeah, because like, look, we are dealing with an entrenched class of oligarchs who have no interest in the people or their will.
No, I would say it's more than that. It's more diverse than the few oligarchs. It's the social conservatives. It's the evangelicals. It's the classical liberalist. It's the neoconservatives, which in a way is good for the GOP because it's a kettle of ideas. And when you compare it to the DNC, which is basically the Clintonites and all the fuckins around
Bernie
it.
Bros.
Yeah,
And the social.
The Republican Party is going through the transformation. If they lose, which we'll see, at the White House, they're going to go through a civil war or a retransformation. But I don't think it will be the end of it, the Republican Party, because they still hold 2/3 of state legislators, and most of the governorships. But
it'll be a rump party. It'll stick around. It'll just be a rump party. We will, unless they make some serious changes.
Oh well,
because we're not going to forget. Like after this election, we're either going to clean house or we're going
Charlie's
to
going to form his own little group against the GOP.
I mean, look,
it's called the U.S. Independence Party.
Yeah, there you go.
I think that already exists, but
Is it really?
What's that?
Hello, U.S.
Oh, Paul's finding a new party to vote for. But
no, sorry, that's the U.S. Independent Party. My bad, sorry.
Independent. But I don't think it's. I think they're going to.
I think I'll call it Alternative for America.
Oh, George Wallace.
Well, you are right.
Hey, Paul, it's your boy.
Good guy personally.
My boy.
I heard he was a nice guy personally. Bought Girl Scout cookies, tipped 20%. But
Frank is a racist. Confirmed.
But it's interesting.
Establishment shill or closet racist.
Racist and neo-Confederate Frank.
Paul's not familiar with Tom Cotton, but I think you are, Charlie, right?
I'm aware, yes.
Yeah. There was The Economist did an article on him. He wants to take the populist movement created by Trump and the GOP and run with it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen in 2020.
You don't run with populism. You just have a populist candidate, Frank.
Well, you go with the you run with the tactics of it. You lie to people, get emotionally in touch with them.
Oh, please. I don't understand why, for a lot of people, populism is like a bad word. It's like, what? Oh my god, not the people. Ew, they smell and have lice. Like it's this kind of like pseudo-Victorian, pearl-clutching sensibility. Like, oh, not the people. They can't govern themselves. Oh.
I don't see the negatives as I see like different negatives because people usually view populism as Hitler or Mussolini, which is very ignorant. I just see it as a politician promising to get a lot done, but they can't.
And Andrew Jackson.
Oh, Andrew Jackson.
Actually, Trump reminds me. Can I geek out about history for a couple minutes here, Paul?
Yeah, go ahead. We will be ending at around 10-ish or 12-ish by you.
Okay. Well, do you guys know about the Gracchus reforms in the Roman Republic?
Very faintly. I remember reading about it briefly a long time ago. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Well, so basically what happened was after the Punic Wars, when the Roman Republic was becoming more and more, it was the hegemon, but the institutions of the Republic were becoming unstable. Because basically what happened was
like the Senate.
the veterans, basically, after the war, the way it worked was, in the Roman army, you paid your soldiers with loot and with land. So it was always very important to have land to give them. Otherwise, they wouldn't fight for you.
Yeah.
And after the Punic Wars, you had all these dead soldiers, right? And then Rome was engaged in a bunch of other wars, maintaining its empire, so a lot of the men were gone, like dead or overseas. And basically what the oligarchs started doing was snatching up these small farms and buying them for a song, or just stealing them outright. And they were just coalescing all the wealth and all the power in fewer and fewer hands. And then a guy named Tiberius Gracchus came along. And he was an aristocrat, but he thought, okay, this is wrong. And he ran to be the People's Tribune on a platform of land reform. And basically kind of trying to redistribute things a little bit, put some caps on land ownership. Because this isn't like you...
I do remember that now.
Yeah, because the Senate, members of the Senate and of the oligarchy, were using the law, basically, they're using the power of the state to seize the wealth of the people. And so he wanted to amend that. And what happened was, he decided to do something unprecedented. He ran for a second term. And he had a bodyguard, right? Because people were trying to kill him. And he had like a signal. Basically, if I touch my head with my two fingers here, my index, my middle finger, that means I need you. Come save me. And there was so people were trying to come at him, so he did the symbol. And someone saw this, and they said, "Oh crap!" And they ran up to the Senate because there was a miscommunication here. Because in Rome they had a huge paranoia of kings, right? They hated kings and wanted no kings. And so then this kid told a senator what he saw, and the senator stood up and said, I think his name was Corvo, and he said, like, "Oh my God, everyone! Gracchus has declared himself king. He wants a crown for his head." So the Senate, they all stand up, they smash their chairs, they pick up the legs of the chairs, they run out into the forum and beat Gracchus to death. And chuck his body into the Tiber.
That escalated quickly.
I know, right? Because he was a threat to them. He was a threat to their order and to their power. And I think what we're seeing is the same thing with Trump.
Are we comparing Gracchus to Trump? Oh, no. Go ahead.
Yes, we are, because...
Only when he runs for a third term, Frank.
Trump is calling out the oligarchs for their disproportionate control of wealth, their disproportionate control of power, using the apparatus of the state in a corrupt way to seize that wealth and seize that power, and he is offering it back to the people. And the oligarchs can't stand it. So they're calling him a fascist. No fascists in America. No kings in Rome. And they're saying, oh, he wants to, he's not a real conservative, or he's literally Hitler. They can't stand it, and they're panicking. And I can tell you they're panicking. Because look at the headlines.
I would say on the liberal side, you are right in certain areas that they do see him as a fascist, as a oligarch. Oh no, as a just a monster. And he is proving that the DNC is corrupt and that Republicans weren't just paranoid.
I mean, he is left on some issues. I don't understand why the left aren't embracing him.
That's also true. Well, people in the Rust Belt look like they are. But the Republicans are just calling him out.
That's what you mean by left.
Yeah. Like the minimal...
That's true. Yeah.
Well, NAFTA, et cetera, which that could be both parties.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Clinton did
paid
NAFTA,
maternity leave. Well, paid maternity leave is something people...
If you're sick, we got to take care of you no matter what.
Yeah.
We can't.
It's interesting. The media doesn't ask questions about that, ever.
Well, because the media's... It's mainstream, and the liberals have... Like the mainstream liberals have the media by the collar, so they can ask him questions to make him seem like he's on the left. They're never going to do that.
They're trying to stop him from gaining Democratic voters. That's where he is right. The media is incredibly backing Democrats for years, but I don't think the conservatives. Yeah, I don't think the Republican Party is trying stopping from. From changing the system.
Yeah, I mean, and Trump's he's support. I don't know if he supports homosexuality. supports homosexuality, but he has said things to the gay community, which the LGBT community, if you want the fucking social justice warriors getting on top of me,
God, no.
that has sounded.
Paul is a homophobe. Confirmed.
That I've sounded.
Paul, Paul, if you want to start this war with them, I'll be in the front line with you. But
I mean, I think we.
There we go. We have a common enemy there.
We
have a common enemy.
We probably get more views.
In that case,
I think we all
social justice.
Yeah, fuck social justice. Honestly,
I think what Trump's doing is basically he's saying like, look, we have priorities right now, right? So it's like we can address the we can address gay, lesbian, bisexual, transsexual, etc. issues. We can address those later. Right now, we need to make sure we have a country in which to address those issues.
Yeah. No, I do find it ridiculous when I don't know if you heard of Yingling, the brewing company. They endorsed
That's one of my
Trump.
favorite beers, actually.
Yeah, they endorsed Trump, and people are now calling that company like a homophobic company. They're doing a protest. Yeah, I'm all for it. A protest.
Homophobic company. Okay.
I'm looking into importing like 20 cases over here so I can just drink it all night. Oh, this beer is so delicious. It tastes like freedom.
This Trump beer.
Oh, Trump beer. There is a Trump wine. There is a Trump wine.
Conservatives have a valid reason for fighting Trump. Democrats, they do, but they're just categorizing him as something he's not. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, if you look, actually study fascism, actually study National Socialism. Trump is none of these things.
No, he's not. He wants to cut the corporate tax rate and different tax rates, which a fascist would never do. But people,
he wants to invade fewer countries.
But before we conclude, I was just looking at the New York Times. If
oh boy.
If Trump wins the
they are going out of business though, which is wonderful.
If Trump wins Nevada,
are they really?
Their profits have tanked. Like they've gone down so much. Yeah, it's amazing.
Woo! Anyway, if Trump
reading.
wins Nevada, it's going to 269, which I can see that happening.
No, not Nevada. If he wins Florida.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna win Nevada.
No. If he just win, I see him winning Florida. If he wins Florida, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Iowa, Ohio, and Nevada, which is the most likely, it's going to 269.
That's what I just told you that.
Yeah, but I'm starting to see the light now, and I'm like, oh my god.
Really?
Yes, it could go to the House of Representatives. That is a possibility. It's going to be amazing.
I want to say no, but just to expand on even though I know you said it, I want to say that's the most likely scenario because I don't see Trump winning Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania.
It's not the most likely scenario. It is a scenario, but it's not the most likely.
No, it is the most likely. I think it's the most likely.
I think it's most likely, Charlie, because I don't see Trump winning Pennsylvania or Virginia.
Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I agree with you both. It'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
But look,
Colorado.
When Trump wins 5,000 electoral votes, you're going to have eaten a crow sandwich. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah,
actually, Putin's going to win 5,000 electoral votes, and that's how we know the Russians.
I love the Clinton logic there. It's like, oh yes, the election cannot possibly be rigged. That's insane. But Putin's winning the election.
Racist. The Russians. I had my professor on Wednesday at graduate school. He did a 10-minute lecture on the alt-right and how scared he is. And I'm just laughing because now my professor is scared of Pepe the Frog. But
that vicious frog hate symbol, it's coming after you.
And Harambe memes are racist.
Yeah,
Harambe memes are racist.
He was basically saying that they're receiving support by the Russians. He's also saying that National Front and all these other organizations are receiving funding from Putin. Which I disagree. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think the alt-right is being funded in America by Russia.
They're not.
Yeah,
they're not. Actually, Marine Le Pen, the head of the Front National, she did an interview.
Who's going to win in France, in my opinion, and leave the EU?
I hope so.
Oui.
The EU needs to
Viva
die.
la France, viva la liberté. But she said because they addressed it, her party did receive a loan from a Russian bank.
Okay.
But what she said was, well, yeah, I went to all the European banks and no one would fund me. So I went to the bank that would give me a loan. So that's perfectly fair. It's
that's logical. That's why
I do
Trump
find
went to
it very
Russia
interesting
because he had
like people, whenever like the BBC or the Guardian or they always address the Front National as like the far right or the extreme right or a fringe right. It's like, well, okay, if almost half the country supports them, they're not fringe.
No, they're not.
And we're going to be doing a video in the future. Probably not anytime soon, but in the upcoming months, regarding the EU, closer to the French election, whatever that is.
Yeah,
and
but
we're going to talk about scenarios there. We're going to talk a little bit about Brexit, some other countries who are also threatening referendums. That I don't know whatever happened to them, but I'll look into it a little more.
Well, that all depends on if these parties can get elected. So like,
that's exactly
like Geert Wilders, the Dutch Party for Freedom.
Yeah, and
he's promised a referendum if he gets power.
And all indications show that a referendum they would leave. If I'm correct,
France?
I think that's because again,
Really?
if you remove propaganda, if you remove fraud, the instincts of a people are to preserve themselves and to preserve their countries, the lands of their birth. And so I think, yes, I think if given the choice and if not propagandized and if not, outnumbered by imported voters, most people will vote to preserve their country. It's a natural instinct.
Fair enough. And we've gotten a little off topic, partly because of me, but there's not really a lot to talk about with the election, in my view. I personally didn't want to talk about it the whole time, but I didn't want to do half an episode on one thing and half an episode on another thing either. So it's fine to talk about the election and even have a little tangent here and there about immigration and about.
Which is all a part of the election. Immigration, everything is a part of this election because and
Brexit,
a lot of things.
And Brexit and like France leaving the EU possibly, though that is
all connected.
Too. It's all connected.
Because if Hillary wins, I'm kind of curious to see how she's going to treat the countries that leave the EU. Because Obama has been really shitty towards the UK ever since they voted to.
If Hillary wins, it's up to Europe. If Hillary wins, the future of any kind of vaguely right-wing populist movement lies in Europe because there's just no one else. If we go down, it's up to Europe.
I think Danny would say that is a oversimplification.
Well, the KGB are controlling the FBI. They're rigging the election. That's all I got. All right. Which is incredible. The Democratic. Before we end,
actually, evidence shows that that is the case, Frank, and I'm sure.
James Comey is not going to have a job.
I have a poll here that shows that 90% of Democratic operatives think that the FBI is run by the KGB, which is run by Putin, which is run by aliens.
Well, here's the thing:
KGB is not active
Russians,
anymore.
man.
I want to throw that out there, but KGB is not a thing.
Putin. No, it's the KGB.
I don't think you have to suffice that, but actually, maybe you do. Maybe you do.
I just hope it's a peaceful election on Tuesday. I hope there's no violence. There's no Black Panthers out there.
It will. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
If there's violence, it'll come from the left.
Yeah, I want to say it will come from the left,
or be staged by the left.
Like,
yeah,
I feel like there's gonna be Black Panthers out. There's gonna be all kinds of shit going on.
All right. Anyway,
we won't find out for probably till midnight Tuesday, Paul.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if we can do a video. We might do it on Wednesday. So I think we'll call the episode here. It was a pretty freeform episode this time. More less like question based and organized, and more just like, well, this is what we think. This is what's happening. X, Y, and Z. Which is good from time to time, in my personal opinion. So if you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. We'll likely be covering. I'd like to cover the criminal justice reform next week. I don't care about the results of the election, but we'll talk about them. I mean, I care about the results.
We'll probably
I don't
cover
care
the
about
results of the election.
I don't care about talking about them so much. So, because I think we all know what's going to happen either way. So, but we will talk about it on Wednesday. But next Sunday, we will be doing criminal justice reform, and I guarantee that. Okay, I guarantee it.
There could be something
Paul's
that's
a
gonna
liar,
happen.
confirmed.
Paul's a liar.
Oh, boy. Anyway, this has been the Political Spectrum podcast. Today we had Paul, Charlie, and Frank. Again, missed out on Danny because he's hungover.
Somewhere. Probably in Mexico having a camel.
Rightfully so, I would imagine.
In Mexico to Sombrero, hungover somewhere.
He's rightfully
Camel next
so
to him.
hungover due to the recent polls. But again, thank you for watching, and until Wednesday or next Sunday, peace.
Will Paul leave?